Welcome to a Delco Nerd Network Hot Take. If you have not seen a hot take before, well, it's where a few friends get in a basement, give our thoughts, give our opinions on a TV show, movie, or game. Today it's going to be a TV show, and that TV show is Watchmen on HBO. Here to discuss, Chris Trio, as always.
What's going on, guys? Gooch, how are you?
I'm good.
It's good. We're here to talk little men that watch.
Yup, who watches The Watchmen, indeed.
I think it was us. We watched The Watchmen.
We did watch The Watchmen.
And now we're going to talk about it a bit. So, just first thoughts overall. Did you enjoy the show? I think I know the answer, but I think
it's one of the best adaptations of anything I've ever seen in my life.
I can agree with that.
Like that is a hot take.
Yeah,
but I really think I have never seen a source material adapted into a sequel, and the sequel almost improve upon everything the comic establishes.
Gotcha.
Like, I mean, like, you know, I'm not sure how many times this has happened where, like, okay, we have a medium, and that medium is a story, and then they choose to take that medium and do
a follow-up
to it. Yeah. So, like, I don't mean like a prequel or like
an addition. Almost.
Like Star Wars kind of does that, but I'm talking about like a sole sequel. Like Watchmen only has before Watchmen the comic, Watchmen, and the movie.
It's funny. DC wanted Alan Moore to do so much more shit with it. Like, so they offered him back the rights. Like, they were like, listen, if you do a sequel to Watchmen, we'll give you the full rights back to the comic. And he was like, nah, get out of here. He needs to do more wizard things.
He won't watch this TV show.
No, and he won't watch the movie either. He did this. He seems like a weird guy, but
he definitely is.
But I'd agree. I think this is a very, very good follow up to a story that we already know. There are some aspects I don't love as much as others. I think it kind of snugly fits in with the source material while not detracting from it, which I think is hard to do a lot, especially with certain characters and things like that. Right. I really enjoyed it. I don't think I'm as high on it as you, but
I'm so high on it. My God.
I don't necessarily. I actually, after reading the comic, I do think that original story is better, but only because it is the original one.
I do too. Because like before, I was like, oh, I think Zack Snyder did it better when it was a nuclear bomb. But I think the weirdness of the HBO show and the squid and like it really like makes sense now that I'm seeing like the aftermath. Like if it was a nuke, it would have been so much more layman, so much more boring. But it's a fucking giant squid, and now everyone in the world is like, freaking out about extra dimensional attacks.
It makes a difference. I think it does, and I think the comic does that so well and like sets it up. And even like with the comic, you don't really talk to Veidt throughout basically the whole book until the end last two.
Yeah, Adrian Veidt is definitely like not like he's there, and like not Hollis Mason.
Dan
Dreiberg, Night Owl goes to talk to him, but like he's not very big.
That's funny. That's Rorschach too in the comic that goes and talks to him. I thought that was an interesting point of difference. Yeah. But I think it actually makes more sense for him to go talk to him instead of Rorschach. But yeah, no, it's interesting how they use his character in this. I think he was a little underused personally.
Who?
Without Veidt.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. For most, not at the end, I think he was used pretty perfectly, but for most of the
Jeremy Irons
kills it.
Best role. I was shocked. I was utterly shocked about how good he was.
Yeah.
As Adrian Veidt Ozymandias.
No, he was good. He was
absolutely
perfect casting.
Fantastic. I think this whole thing is perfectly casted.
I agree.
Like,
I think they
everyone
really
in it is really good.
How did you feel about all like the new costumed heroes and stuff like that?
Sister Knight, Looking Glass, and then we have a few of the other
Red Russian,
the detectives. I think they were all good. Like I really liked Angela Abar, Sister Knight. Like,
I did too.
I really liked her. Looking Glass was awesome, especially when we get the more backstory.
I think he was my
why.
favorite for sure.
Yeah,
yeah.
After that episode, they talk about his like origin and like what happens to him, and like he's kind of like pretty much like at ground zero of
the squid attack.
Yeah,
in the '85, and I liked how his mask was almost an inverse Rorschach. When he was in, he was in that like bubble, and like the way all the pictures were going off his face, it looked like a Rorschach. But
that was the point.
Exactly. You know,
that was the point.
Exactly.
It was supposed to be a Rorschach.
It was so. It's a nice little nod, but then to realize why he's actually wearing that, it makes so much sense, and it's really cool and interesting. I I loved how the costumes looked like some schmo made them in their basement. Like I really
they're realistic to the point where it's like, yeah, somebody could make that.
Sure. And even like the fight scenes, they weren't overly like the scene where Angela beats up the one guy in the house in like the first episode.
Oh,
it feels the seventh cavalry, dude. They feel like real people fighting. Whereas like one thing I don't love about Zack Snyder's Watchmen is how they really like fucking comedians punching through walls and like they're like insanely strong. They aren't just, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I do. Like I which is fine, and I think that works. But they seem much more
just pictured it
like him just
like in the first scene.
Yeah. But it felt real. It felt like it was set in a possibly real world, and
the world is so not real. There is no internet. Like there's so many modern technologies that just don't exist because Dr. Manhattan exists. You know.
So it seemed the one thing I really love for this, getting back to like marketing stuff, is like with Peteypedia and things like that, and these little things that you can go in and look into if you would really like to know. And apparently the reason that the internet and stuff was curved in this universe was because of the Vite. Okay, spoilers.
Sure.
Spoilers.
Go watch this. I mean, like, even if you've never read the original Watchmen comics,
you don't need to.
Which I think it very much helps.
I agree.
It gives you a lot of context as to what the fuck is going on. I think you can watch this series without it,
going in blind,
and then go back and watch it. Like
if you really it did drive the show drove me to pick up the comic and really kind of dive into it more than I have.
Or even watch the movie.
Yeah.
Like, I think all you need to know is instead of a nuclear bomb, it's a squid. Anyway,
it's supposed to be an alien attack.
Let's get into spoilers here.
Yeah. What was I about to say about Peteypedia? I just thought all that stuff. Oh, yeah. Talking about the internet and why that isn't a thing. Apparently, it's because of the Vite video and the government not wanting that to even have a chance of getting out. So they just kind of snubbed the internet, basically, in the 80s.
Whoa.
So, like,
what Peteypedia file is that?
It's one of them, in one of the earlier episodes.
I read a lot of them.
But, yeah, so basically, they knew, like, if the internet becomes a thing, they saw the possibility of how this could easily spread on there.
Right.
And then, so they reined in that stuff.
Yeah, and, like...
Because there is still technological... I mean, there's, like, holograms and, like, crazy technological
all the cars are like they're
electric.
Lithium. No, they're like lithium-ion batteries because that's what Dr. Manhattan's like energy is, and that's what he like brings into the universe when he's created.
Oh, is that what because they're trying to work on like a power source in Watchmen, him and Vite together.
That's what it is.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, cool, so they adapt that energy source and
everything uses it.
Yeah,
interesting. Again, really cool world building.
Yeah,
but do we want to get into spoiler stuff? Was there something you wanted to go into?
Just
everything.
Yeah, I mean, we can just jump. We're already starting.
It's true.
Spoilers.
Yeah. So, the thing I liked with Vite was how he was stuck in this place, and he was just you realize he was just passing time. Like he knew something was gonna come for him, but he almost seemed to have set up the game master. He made him his adversary just to have something fun to do.
Right.
That was it.
Well,
right?
I think that
not that that's a bad thing.
Ozymandias is this like fucking philosophical motherfucker, and like everything he does is like worshiping Alexander the Great. So he's trying to mimic like what he's doing.
Yeah.
And essentially he's just building a villain to fight to see to like entertain himself, but also to see what like he's worth.
Yeah.
Like it's absolutely mind-boggling.
No, it is insane. And
like it's fucking
his
insane.
His costume was awesome. It looked great too.
Oh my god.
The like deep purple.
When he puts that mask on, I was like, fuck,
it's so
sideways,
good.
Man.
Dude, how about I was listening to a podcast and the one is Weekly Planet, and one of the hosts is like, I think he's inside that statue. It's like, what? I was
dude,
like, what? And I was like, no, because I mean, there's one scene where he's like, it's when they're sentencing him to death or whatever, and it pulls away and it fades out of his head from like the statue.
Well, like,
and then it comes back.
Laurie even says, "Why is he so old?"
Yeah, that is fun. I just assumed she knew where he was, but that makes total sense.
I didn't. I assumed that everyone, he disappeared and everyone knew it.
Well, I meant I should assume. Let's say, like, I thought Lady True knew. Somehow still had contact with him and could see why he was older, but I mean it makes total sense now. Like, that no, that was just him covered in gold.
He was fucking like hibernating.
Yeah, gold. So she got him at 2008? Did she say?
I don't know.
I can't, because he must have been in that statue for a good bit at least. A
few years.
Yeah. So yeah, we were seeing it all just sitting there in a statue. How did you feel about how Dr. Manhattan was used?
I think that's one of the weaker parts.
I agree.
I like it, but like I've said this to you before. I love how Dr. Manhattan, God exists and he is American, and Dr. Manhattan. Yeah, like that's who God is in this universe.
And that's I like that too a lot. But like the thing with me is like, then how can you kill God? Like that's
like he's so Dr. Manhattan is so omnipotent and like all powerful, and he grounds himself by falling in love. One of the most trivial. It's so simple. Yeah, and he just falls in love, and it doesn't happen. It happens more than once.
Yeah, it happens 3 times actually.
And that's how he grounds himself. It's weird, and like it's almost like keeping him human, even though he's very not human.
And it's funny because he knows, so he perceives time all at once, which I think is an interesting concept. But I feel like once you put it into practice, I'm like, so if he's seeing this all happen, it will all happen no matter what he does to change it. And I guess that's a concept that I just don't necessarily jive with all the time.
I think everything within Dr. Manhattan's timeline. I don't think he can just see random shit.
No, exactly. He's seeing it from his point of view.
He can see things that he will or has gone through.
Yeah.
Right.
And like I do think it's like the way he talks. He's like you just will tell me about it in 5 minutes, and then like she's like, no, I won't. And then she mentions there are some like cool stuff
like
that.
when he's talking to Will and like they're communicating like 40 years in the oh no, it's not 40 years. It's like 10.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. And even about that.
10 years in the future past.
And like the concept, like she's like, why did he go after who like the police chief? And he's like, who is that? And then basically he's like, oh shit.
She tells him
what comes first, the chicken or the egg? Turns out it's both. They come at the exact same time. And I was like, that's interesting. Like, there's
God
some cool
fucking
stuff.
damn it.
Yeah. There's some interesting concepts that I really enjoy in the show, but at the same time, they're almost a little too heady. Like, more with the Dr. Manhattan thing.
Are you talking about the racial tension stuff?
No, that I didn't even... I thought was interesting.
I really enjoyed. So, like, I mean, like, the first part of the show, we're getting introduced to the fact that Tulsa, Oklahoma, the police department is essentially protecting themselves by becoming vigilantes.
Yeah.
Cops, detectives, everyone wears masks and they all have identities because they're trying to protect their families because the 7th Cavalry is going after police and killing them and finding who their families are. And I'm like, that's really interesting. That's a very Watchmen-esque concept.
No, I thought it was cool too.
Who watches the Watchmen? Like I feel like you need to ask yourself that question every time like you come into a situation.
I agree. Yeah. And one of my actually favorite parts about that storyline was the crazy conspiracy theorists were right. They knew about the squid attack. They knew, like, the 7th Cavalry knew all that stuff happened, I assume.
Right.
And like that's not something you normally that's not something you normally see, that the conspiracy theorists were right.
Hello, President Redford.
They were very shitty people, but they were also right.
It's
like,
me,
it's weird. Yeah,
Adrian Veidt.
Yeah, and even I do like they continue that thing of like he's like nothing's ever over. That's the last thing he says to him.
Nothing ever ends.
Nothing ever ends.
But the end is always nigh.
And that's the thing. And
that's the thing. Like the end is always nigh. The end, but nothing ever ends.
Yeah.
Like it's a contradiction, but like that's the truth. The doomsday clock is always ticking down, but it never ends. Like it's just like hypocritical, like contradictory, like theory, but like it makes sense. And in this universe, it makes a lot of sense. That we're always on the cusp of doomsday, but like it never can happen.
Yeah, and it's interesting in the fact of like that is also obviously a very dramatized world of like even more like I know there were really bad tensions in the 80s between like for the Cold War and stuff like that, but I truly do wonder how close we were to a nuclear holocaust of some kind. And obviously in Watchmen it's much more strenuous, and in the original comics I mean, and stuff like that. And
right,
it seems like Veidt did save the world, at least in that
instance. He totally did.
For sure.
I mean, like he's definitely a little bit of a narcissist.
He's a sociopath for sure. Like,
but he does save the
But the
planet.
interesting part is he self-recognizes, like, because I think he does think he could, if he really thought about it, he could take Dr. Manhattan's powers if he really put as much thought into it.
He's kind of like a Lex Luthor-esque.
But he knows, like,
villain. I mean, he's not like looking for evil necessarily. He's not a bad guy.
He's a guy looking to accomplish the greater good at no matter the cost, even if it means killing 3 million people with a giant alien squid. that he creates in a lab. But so yeah, he's kind of a supervillain.
So what did you think? I mean, so if you've read the comic, you know about the Minutemen and like the importance of the Minutemen and how they follow into the group, the Watchmen.
They are never called the Watchmen in the comics. They're always the Minutemen, and then they're like some other society. They only call them that in the movie. I've realized, which is interesting. But sorry,
I call them. Of course, the Watchmen. What'd you think about Hood Justice?
I thought that was when I said earlier about they added something to the show that was pretty meaningful without detracting from the original source materials.
Because Hooded Justice is that one Minuteman that nobody seems to know anything about.
He's just they think
he's this German strongman because he happened to disappear and die around the same time.
Which is the story they use in the Minutemen show within the show, which I think is interesting.
Yeah. But like even in the comic, like Hollis Mason is like. I really think he's this dude.
He died. Yeah.
He disappeared, but like this German strongman died around the same time, and like they're kind of the same size, and it's like I think it was him, and like Hollis Mason seems to be very sure, but in fact,
I think that was the original intention, obviously in the first comic, but I think they did a good job of making it a retcon without really being a retcon.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Because you don't know. So they're not really retconning it. They're just choosing to explore this
in a different
interesting racial tension kind of path with Will Reeves and how
Will
it makes
Reeves,
sense with even his costume. A black man is pretending to be a white man under a hood with a noose on it. It's very obvious that like
it makes total sense.
It looks like a guy being lynched. Like that's what Hooded Justice looks like. And like nobody is none the wiser.
Even thinking about it, And
and he's also gay.
He was gay in the original comic too.
I know. Yeah. But he's a gay black man in what, the 40s, 50s? Like
talk about a check for bad stuff happening to you at a time. No, that was my favorite part of that. I actually did end up really enjoying the 7th Cavalry storyline just because of that. And I think that was the only character they could really do anything with like that from the comic. Right. Everyone else had much more of a definitive ending / beginning.
Dude, this scene where they do the Minutemen picture.
Oh, it is good. God. Dude, those costumes are awesome. Good. And even I love how he doesn't have like the big collar like he does in the show. Yeah. Like the show's like, no, it's all dramatized. They wanna make it look a little more
drummed up.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Cool. I don't know.
Yeah. Very more
what we're saying.
Superhero-y.
Right.
But no, I think that was probably my favorite twist from the entire show. Like, I really do. I liked...
Dude, that episode, when I finished, I was like, this show's the greatest first... I'll give you another hot take, because best first season of a show ever, period. I don't give a fuck what anyone has to say about it.
That's Dexter for me, but I agree. This is a fantastic
I was just
first
like,
season
every episode is strong. It doesn't have the best pilot, but I think as it's going, every episode is good. I don't feel like any episode misses the mark at all.
There was one that I didn't love.
I feel like the beginning of the show is the slowest.
I agree.
It really picks up.
I'm trying to. What's the one like? There was one at the end where you finally see Ozymandias being sentenced. I can't remember.
It's the second to last one.
Is that the second to last one?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, I'm trying to think if I thought of anything else.
That's the one where Angela walks into a god walks into a bar.
Oh gosh,
a bar.
And that's funny. That actually, I didn't love that episode for some reason. And again, maybe that's because of the Dr. Manhattan stuff and how he is a omnipotent being, and they explain him in some ways, but then it leaves me kind of questioning, like, well, why isn't this happening? And
why isn't what's this?
Like, why again? Like getting back to like he perceives all these points at once, and he went out to make life, so he knew he would come back to Earth at one point to meet Angela, and it just gets very heady for me, and I don't know necessarily if that's my bag. You know what I mean? Like I think they kind of explore it to a good point in the Watchmen comic, but it gets to a point where you start asking so many questions for me where I'm just like, okay, I'm lost.
I don't think I was asking a lot of questions. And I think I was really like
just like letting it go in the moment.
Not letting it go, but like
that's not what I meant.
Listening to what the show was telling me and like really thinking about like what was going on in the moment, but I wasn't asking too many questions because a lot of questions were being answered.
Sure. I did like Black Manta as Watchmen, as Dr. Manhattan. I thought he was cool. I thought the makeup was a little weird.
Yeah, I think honestly, I think it's just the shape of his head.
It really, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it was
because like without hair, your head probably looks really weird.
But even like, your head. I actually really enjoy the way he's portrayed in the movie. versus the how his look is complete, like how he glows and how his like his skin's
but
almost
like I like
translucent.
how like even like Angela's like, why aren't you glowing? Because I just choose not to right now.
No, yeah, exactly. And that
I was like,
another thing
I could buy that.
There were some twists where I was like, all right, I get it. Like with she's like, well, Dr. Manhattan can't be human and he can't be on Earth. And I felt like they kept saying that. I'm like, all right, well, he's definitely human and he's definitely on Earth.
He's definitely like, I thought he was on Europa.
Oh, really?
I thought he was there somewhere, like keeping Vite prisoner for some reason.
And I do love the idea that he created life and he just got bored with it. Like he literally is like, yeah, I did it and I made life and it was cool, but like, I just didn't really care.
And he ripped that castle from his, when he was escaping Nazi Germany, and created like Adam and Eve in the picture of the two people who he first watched have sex and then like kind of like gave him a new life.
Yeah. I thought it was an interesting thought of like God makes people and then I don't care enough anymore. I'm going to go do something else. Like I made you guys, you're cool, but you bore me. And I'm like, oh, what if God actually did just do that? Like it's an interesting thought-provoking idea to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I think this is a very great first season. I don't think I'm as high on it as you, but it's a fun and interesting show that builds on a source material and in a compelling way. And I think that's rare these days. Anything else for you, Gooch, though?
Lube, man.
Whatever happened to him?
It's Dave Petey.
Oh, it is?
How in Petepedia. So somebody writes up a document and it was like, yeah, Dale. Like we fired Dale Petey because like we went to his office and he's like obsessed with vigilantes and he's on an anti-vigilante task force and he has canola oil in his office for some reason. Okay, that's he's fucking
he's Lube Man.
We're firing him because of his suspected vigilante. He is Lube Man.
Yeah, that's funny as fuck.
That
was one of the funniest scenes. Like, I love how she just goes, "What the fuck?" Like,
like this
so
dude
good.
in like a silver jumpsuit. But like, I love his character.
No, he was great. He was that filler of like, no, that's all bullshit. Like, this is what actually happened.
He's like
Watchmen.
us. He's like a fan.
Yeah,
but he's
a fan, and didn't he like actually study it? Isn't there was there like a? I can't remember if it was like his actual major was like in vigilantism or like something like that.
I don't know, but like he's obsessed. Like he's writing reviews on like the what's the show called?
A Minute. I think it's just called The Minutemen or something.
He's writing like reviews on it and how it's a bunch of bullshit. Like he's basically like kind of like this like meta commentary on the show, but like the real life stuff. And we didn't talk a lot about Lori.
No, who was one of the other stronger characters for me.
The fact that they turned Silk Spectre into
a vigilante hunter.
Yeah, who like, obviously like was a costumed adventurer at one point.
Yeah, and it's funny because she didn't like doing it, at least as far as she says it a lot in the comics. At least not for.
I think it's her background and the fact that like, her mom was raped by the comedian and like, he's a vigilante and she was a vigilante. Sally Jupiter was.
And I mean, even in the comics, she always talks about, she's like, my mom really kind of pushed me into this. Like, I didn't really want to do this as much as she. And I mean, she seems to enjoy it, but it definitely was this thing that maybe she wouldn't have done if her mom didn't want her to do it. So I think that's an interesting idea of her.
Yeah,
like I really like that scene with like the Batman like guy and then like Lorman and
when she's first introduced. Yeah,
it's cool.
Yeah, and like the Lady True stuff is really interesting. There are a ton of Easter eggs in this show, and I if you're interested, go check out a YouTube channel called Screen Crush. They do like Easter egg videos for every episode, and there's so much. Like the eggs in every episode. There are so many fucking eggs in this entire show. Between like
you can tell Lindelof picked over that comic in great detail. Like you can tell he was a fan. And he really respected that source material and wanted to honor it. And and you can see it in a lot of those just little things. Yeah.
Right.
And he didn't Lindelof the end. He didn't leave me with all these questions where I'm like, what has he done in the past? Lost.
Oh.
Yeah. And we all know how that ended.
Right.
And for better or for worse, I think he does some good stuff. But at the same time, I was really afraid he was just going to leave us like, well, what's going to happen next season? Which he kind of did. Well, but he gave us enough answers.
The season finale. Do you think Angela is going to become Dr. Manhattan?
I mean, I think so. I feel like it would be kind of weird for her.
I don't think so.
Like, so you think he's just gone? Like there won't be another being
Dr.
like
Manhattan
that.
is gone.
See, yeah, because like he never got transferred in anyone.
I think
like I don't get why he could. That's another thing. Why couldn't he just rebuild himself after
nothing
that?
ever ends, Trio.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like how like we don't see what Angela eats the egg that Dr. Manhattan leaves for her with.
Yeah,
his
I thought her foot
biological data or whatever.
I thought
data, but...
she was like as it showed her foot stepping on, it was just gonna turn blue or something like that.
I knew we were gonna get the cut to black. I was like, yeah. Well, and like I don't know if we're getting another season of this. David Lindelof really set this up to be a 1-season thing. I think a season 2 of Angela's story is done. We never go back to it.
Yeah.
But what we do, like the show does pick up with like maybe like Laurie arrests Adrian Veidt at the end. Like what if the show, the main plot of the next season would be Adrian Veidt's trial.
I think it would be cool.
And bringing in Dan Dreiberg, like Night Owl, bringing in all like the rest of the...
Yeah, so we don't know what happened to him.
Right.
Do we?
We
see Archie, but
right,
that's it.
And the owl.
Yeah, so that I was curious. So they all
guess
built
he's alive.
I mean, yeah, you'd assume.
Yeah, he's definitely alive.
Yeah.
I just think he's,
I thought it was an interesting idea how the police modeled their ship after Archie. Yeah, which is cool. Yeah, lots of cool little things. And I think this is a very successful season 1, and I'd actually think I would prefer if it just was a 1 season.
Yeah, like I wouldn't mind, but like I think I was like, dude, we could really explore.
There's enough nuggets there.
Yeah, like the world doesn't know, except for some people know now.
Yeah.
That
that Veidt did what he did.
Yeah. And it's interesting that she was going to put him on trial, even though she's known all this.
Which
time.
I think if he's going to trial, she's going to be put on the chopping block too. If she knew this for
all
years
of them
and
are.
years, yeah,
they're all involved.
Yeah, like
Ozymandias, Night Owl, and Rorschach's death. Like
man,
Dr. Manhattan did literally kill him.
Yeah,
and like it's not like he was working for the government at that point. He literally just decided to kill Rorschach because Rorschach was going to tell the world what Adrian was doing.
Which is I feel like they could have just let him go and no one would have believed him. Like, do you think he really could have changed
I think
it?
he would have told them as Rorschach and they would have believed him.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think at that point.
And again, I like how that's used as a conspiracy theory in the world that was set up, that it wasn't real.
The show is just so good, man. I really fucking enjoy it. Like I can't like talk about it enough. Like I'm like everyone needs to watch.
I was surprised
show.
we didn't.
So cool.
I was surprised.
And so weird.
Yeah, no, it is. It's out there. I was surprised we didn't see any psychics, because they are hinted at in the comic a lot, and apparently the brain that they use in the giant squid is a clone of a psychic's brain. So I was like, interesting. But now they never really kind of give us anything on that. Was there anything else, Gooch? I'm trying to think. I don't want to end this too quickly because I'm just trying to go over everything in my head.
No, I think we've kind of hit everything. I'm trying to think of some points. I think we didn't go over everything, obviously, but
we never do.
Yeah, we never do. There's always something we miss.
Of course.
But
yeah.
What'd you have written down?
I think we actually basically covered mostly everything. Let's see.
Well, we didn't really talk about Lady True.
That's true. Yeah, well, let's go into True. The truest of True.
Yeah. So her, you know who Lady True in history is, right?
No.
So she is this like woman who started a rebellion, and she rode a white elephant. It's like a legend.
Gotcha.
And like she that's why the elephant is like in that room.
Yeah.
And like her symbol is an elephant. Like she's kind of like trying to emulate her.
Yeah.
Like Ozymandias emulates Alexander the Great.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I think Lady True is like very interesting. And like it's almost like an Ozymandias to like another level.
Yeah, exactly.
And the fact that they're fucking related,
and that and Ozymandias that does lean into the.
There's something we didn't talk about. A huge plot point.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, duh.
We totally missed it.
True
didn't talk about
is Ozymandias' daughter. Not
right.
by choice, because apparently he's kept himself from all women. Good for you, I guess, Fight. But he had a bunch of sperm, and some girl shot herself up.
That was like I was like, this show would do that.
I know.
She literally like takes a vial of his fucking sperm and just shoots it into her vagina.
Yeah, and then she had a kid. What if it didn't take? Well, does it? I guess
it cannot.
Yeah, it cannot, right?
It cannot.
Women write in. No. But yeah, that was an interesting plot. I didn't love her whole arc too much. I didn't find her incredibly interesting for me.
I liked her as the villain.
Yeah.
I thought she worked. Obviously, definitely not my favorite character,
Yeah.
but yeah, I enjoyed her point and like why she was there and how she like, Adrian kind of rejects her, and in spite of that, she like
still she does basically what he does. Yeah, and I thought that was an interesting point that I didn't even realize from the movie, which I think he does mention it, is like he gives away all his fortune when he's younger and builds himself back up to that. And I love how he goes, listen, I didn't start from shit.
Do you like how there's always the toys on his desk?
I didn't notice that. What is it?
In the comic and in the
oh yeah, like the little that's
little
yeah.
Ozymandias action figures.
Yeah.
Also, his computer and his password is still obviously Ramsey too.
I thought that was a cool little homage. After I read the comic, I noticed all these
there's a ton of homages.
Little leads. It was good.
Do you like how about the Peteypedia about the fucking blue dildo?
Dude, super. I don't know if he saw it first and he's lying to me, but like we're watching the episode and he goes, "There's a big blue dildo in that case." I'm like, "Fuck off!" And then at the end, she pulls it out. I'm like, "You fucking watched this before?" He's like, "No, I didn't." I'm like, "You have to be lying. There's no way you knew that."
Dude, did he guess?
That's what he says. I was like, "You saw this before. You had to."
You saw this online. So wait, did you read the Pedia about it?
No.
So Dryberg makes it for her.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, they were in a relationship.
Yeah. I mean, that thing is gigantic. Like, I feel like once you're past the point, it doesn't even do anything. You're only using half of it. Like, no, it's just serious. Like,
but like, I was just like, what a weird, but like, I
love you.
It. I kind of get it. Like, I kind of get why. Not like I love you, but like, I don't know. She still likes Doctor. She's still like,
she loved him.
Maybe like isn't the right word. Love, infatuated with Dr. Manhattan.
She goes to keep trying to talk.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So she clearly like thinks about him.
And then he just puts like a clone basically on. Is that one still there on Mars after he got destroyed?
What?
The Dr. Manhattan like decoy that he put there?
I mean, it's just like I don't think it's a clone. I think it might be like a. I was
like
thinking
it's
it was
like a projection of some kind.
Or like he's doing something. I didn't think too hard into that. I was like, yeah, it's Dr.
Manhattan. I didn't either.
He can do whatever the fuck he wants.
I just thought of it really because I'm so smart.
The expanding on the Vietnam stuff, Vietnam becoming a state was interesting, and kind of seeing like people like still reject.
So is Alaska a state? Because in the comics it's not.
I don't think so.
It must not be in this one too. Interesting. Interessante.
Yeah, because the flag is different.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, again, the show is like super alternate reality cool, and I think it just does a lot of stuff. That is just very interesting, very weird, but like makes a lot of sense at the end of the day.
That
within
really,
the context of Watchmen.
That Watchmen universe. Yeah, I agree. I'm totally with you.
In real life,
I think it's worth your time. If you like the show, I think it's well worth going back and reading the comic or even just watching the movie. There's one main difference, like we said, with the squid and the nuclear thing, but even that, it really doesn't change the whole idea of the story that much. Maybe if you really kind of want to think about it, it kind of does. But even still,
no, I think what it does is enhances. Watchmen,
agree.
The
I
comic.
think it does too.
It enhances it. It doesn't change it. It doesn't really retcon it, but like it just explores the world more, and it works.
Because even like they in the movie they frame it as Dr. Manhattan's the enemy, and it's like, but he was human at one point. Whereas if you bring in this totally different alien creature that freaks people out, I think that even inspires a greater fear, and that like. The idea, I never realized there was like the psychic attack and stuff like that, like how it basically just fucked everyone's mind as soon as it teleported there.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah, because it was cool. like he really like tried to build this believable thing. Like,
and like
not just like coming in and slamming down.
Yeah, the idea
the
is
psychic attack kills everyone.
Like he brings it in and then it's the teleportation causes its death, which then that death triggers its psychic attack.
Yeah.
Which it's interesting. Interesting stuff. Stuff that I wish was explored in the movie a little bit more, but you know what? Beggars can't be choosers and all that.
Zack Snyder did a good job.
I think he actually very much did.
It's a great adaptation
for a thing that many people called unadaptable at that time, even. So, good job, Lindelof. Good job, Zack Snyder. Thanks for giving us some cool stuff, Gooch. Are we missing anything else, my friend?
No, we're good.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for watching. That does it for us today. If you've been watching live on twitch.tv/Delco Network, we really appreciate it. You can find us on all the socials, including YouTube. Just search Delco Network. We're also on all your favorite podcasts. We are at Delco Nerds on all of our socials, I should say. All this info can be found on our website, delconerdnetwork.com. For Gooch, I've been Trio. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay nerdy, and we will see you next time.